Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're plunging into something really quite heartbreaking in Sri Lanka. It's about elephants. They have one of Asia's highest densities of elephants, which sounds great, but it's also got this tragic flip side.
It really does. The conflict numbers are just staggering.
Exactly. Globally, they have the highest number of elephant deaths from human-elephant conflict and the second highest number of human deaths.
And that's a real paradox.
And for you, our listener who's really grappling with this, you've come up with a pretty innovative idea. GPS trackers for every elephant.
Yes, with that specific goal of a year-long battery life, which is ambitious.
Very ambitious. So our journey today, our deep dive, is to really look at the raw realities of this conflict. Explore your vision, the potential, but also the real hurdles.
Absolutely.
And then figure out how an initiative like yours could actually get support locally and, well, globally. We're aiming to pull out the key insights from the material you sent over.
Let's do it.
Okay, so let's start with just confronting the scale of it, the numbers. What do they actually tell us about this conflict?
Well, the numbers are stark, really stark. In 2023 alone, 488 elephants died and 182 people.
Just in 1 year. Wow.
Yeah. And it's not slowing down. The first half of this year, 2024, already 198 elephants and 63 humans.
Gosh.
And if you look back a bit further, say from 2015 to now, 2024, we're talking over 3,484 elephants and 1,195 people lost in these conflicts. It's just...
Yeah, those figures really hammer home the urgency, don't they? And we know these things are complex. What's driving it? What are the core reasons behind this in Sri Lanka?
A huge, huge factor is habitat loss and fragmentation. I mean, think about it. Sri Lanka used to be nearly 70% forest back in the 1920s.
70%.
Yeah, now it's down to just 16%.
16. That's drastic.
It is. Human population growth, development, it's chewed up and broken apart elephant habitats. Their migration routes blocked.
So they literally have nowhere to go or fewer places to go.
Exactly, which pushes them right into human areas, villages, farms, looking for food and water.
And when that happens, when they're pushed into settlements, what's the immediate fallout, especially for, say, local farmers?
Well, the most direct impact is crop raiding. Elephants need a lot of food, over 300 pounds a day.
300 pounds.
Yeah. So farms look pretty appealing, especially when things are dry. And that, understandably, leads to farmers trying to protect their livelihoods, sometimes using really harmful methods like shooting.
Right. Desperation on both sides, in a way. What about trying to keep them out physically, like electric fences? Do those work?
Often, no. They're frequently just inadequate, or they're not maintained properly, so elephants find ways through or around them.
So the barriers aren't really barriers?
Not consistently. And beyond fence failures, you have just grim stuff. Illegal acts, people shooting elephants using these horrific things called hakapatas.
Oh, I read about those. Explosives hidden in food.
Yeah, exactly. Terrible. And electrocution, too. Those illegal acts accounted for, over a third of elephant deaths back in 2022.
A third. That's deliberate killing.
Yes. Plus, accidental deaths. Train accidents are a big one. 24 elephants killed in 2023, 9 just this year so far. Road accidents, even falling into wells.
And poaching, is that a factor, too?
It happens, yeah. For ivory or other body parts, it's maybe less prevalent than in some other countries, but it's definitely still a threat.
It's a relentless onslaught from so many angles, which I guess makes your idea, the GPS tracking, seem even more appealing, trying to get a technological edge. What's the core promise there?
The promise is significant. It's a modern approach, right? Your idea, the GPS tracking, it could give us accurate real-time data on where elephants are moving.
So you'd know where they are, basically.
Exactly. And that means you could get alerts out quickly if an elephant is heading towards a village or farmland. Wildlife officials could then respond fast, hopefully preventing a conflict before it even starts.
Okay, that sounds really good on paper. Fast alerts, rapid response. But deploying this on a massive scale with wild elephants, what are the immediate red flags or challenges that pop up?
Well, the first big one is cost. GPS collars aren't cheap. And deploying them across a large population, that's a serious financial undertaking.
Right, the initial outlay.
And then there's the logistics. Even with your target of a 1-year battery life, which is, quite good, you still have to maintain those batteries, replace them, on wild elephants. That's a huge ongoing logistical challenge.
Catching them again, basically.
Yes, and durability is key too. These collars have to survive rough terrain, water, mud, elephants being elephants.
Yeah, they're not exactly gentle with their accessories.
Not at all.
And the actual process of putting the collar on, there are risks there too, right?
That definitely. You have to anesthetize the animal. That always carries risks, no matter how carefully it's done.
Okay, so costs, logistics, durability, the risk of sedation.
And even if you have the data, you need the systems and the people to use it effectively. Real-time monitoring. Rapid response teams ready to deploy. That needs robust infrastructure, enough trained staff.
So the tech is only as good as the system supporting it.
Precisely. And maybe the most critical point, tracking helps us watch and react. It doesn't fix the root causes.
Ah, right. It doesn't stop the habitat loss or the reasons elephants raid crops in the first place.
Exactly. It's a powerful tool for management, for mitigation, but it's not the whole solution by itself.
That's a really important distinction. Managing symptoms versus curing the disease, kind of. Which brings us to something you've asked about the Department of Wildlife Conservation, the DWC. Why aren't they maybe already doing this, or why do responses sometimes seem slow?
Yeah, that's a fair question. Looking at the sources, the DWC is facing some really systemic challenges.
Like what?
Well, for starters, human resources. They have significant staff vacancies, not enough trained people. Sometimes officers aren't adequately qualified for complex tasks like investigations or legal follow-up.
So a capacity issue, just not enough boots on the ground or maybe not the right training.
Both, it seems. And then there are institutional weaknesses. Things like outdated data systems, political interference sometimes, reorganizations that seem arbitrary, delays in filling key management roles. It all affects efficiency.
Bureaucracy and maybe political hurdles too.
Seems like it. And then there's the really practical stuff. Money and resources. Just not enough funds for projects, for buying and maintaining equipment. A lack of basic things even.
Like what kind of basic things?
Vehicles, for instance. Sometimes an office might only have one working vehicle. Fuel shortages. Not enough modern equipment for anesthesia or for deterring elephants safely. Even safety gear for the officers in the field can be lacking.
Wow. So they're trying to tackle this enormous problem with really limited tools.
That's the picture, yes. Which helps explain some of those operational delays you hear about, like injured elephants waiting too long for help or slow responses when there's been a train incident involving an elephant.
It sounds incredibly tough for the people working there. The field officers must be incredibly dedicated.
Oh, absolutely. The sources really emphasize the dedication and the personal risk these officers take. They're out there on the front lines, often with very little backup, trying to enforce laws, respond to emergencies, risking their own safety.
So despite all the challenges, their role is crucial.
Indispensable. They're the ones tasked with protecting biodiversity, enforcing the Fauna and Flora Protection Ordinance, managing protected areas, fighting wildlife crime. They're doing vital work under very difficult circumstances.
Which means, for your project, the GPS tracking, you absolutely need the DWC on board, right?
100%. Their approval, their cooperation, it's essential for anything on this scale. You have to work with them.
Okay. So navigating those DWC challenges is key. But let's zoom out again. If tracking is just one piece, what does the bigger, more holistic solution look like? What else needs to happen for true mitigation?
Well, the most sustainable long-term approach is probably habitat enrichment.
Meaning making the existing habitats better for elephants.
Exactly. Improving their natural homes. Planting the kinds of food elephants prefer, like baru and welling trees, inside the forests. Maintaining water sources, like tanks and reservoirs. The idea is simple. Make the forest a better place to be so they don't need to leave.
Keep them happy where they belong.
Yeah.
Makes sense. What about feeding them directly, though? Like supplementary feeding. Is that ever done?
It is, but usually only for elephants in captivity or maybe during really severe droughts.
Okay, not for the wild population generally.
Not really as a long-term strategy. It can involve giving them hay, grass, fruits, vegetables, but it has downsides. It can mess with their natural foraging behavior, make them dependent on humans, and even increase risks like disease spreading among them.
Right, and potentially other issues too.
Yeah, there have been some reports, concerns raised about potential misuse of funds related to feeding programs in specific places, like the Horopathana Elephant Holding Center. So it needs careful consideration.
So enrichment seems better than feeding. What else is in that bigger picture?
It really requires broader systemic changes. More funding, definitely from the government, from international sources. Using more technology, yes, like drones alongside GPS tracking could be powerful.
Okay.
Better training and more resources for wildlife officers. And crucially, getting local communities involved. They're living with the conflict. They need to be part of the solution.
Right. Community participation. That sounds vital. Okay, this is a huge puzzle, but your GPS initiative, it could still be a really important piece. So for you, listener, thinking about moving this forward, how do you actually mobilize support? Where do you start?
First step, a really solid proposal. You need to lay it all out clearly.
What goes in it?
The problem first. Then your specific plan, how many elephants, what GPS tech, how you'll deploy it, how the data gets used, crucially the budget, equipment, maintenance, everything, what results you expect, and importantly, how you'll tackle the challenges we talked about.
Be realistic about the hurdles.
Absolutely. Once you have that, you start connecting with the key players.
Like who? Who are the must-talk-to people or groups?
Definitely the Department of Wildlife Conservation, the DWC in Sri Lanka. Can't stress that enough.
Yeah.
Then local nonprofits doing good work, like the Sri Lanka Wildlife Conservation Society, SLWCS.
Okay. Government and local NGOs?
Also, academic institutions. Ruhunu University, Paradimya University, they often have researchers deep into wildlife conservation. They could be great partners.
Add scientific credibility, too.
Exactly. And then look internationally. Big groups like WWF, the World Wildlife Fund, the Wildlife Conservation Society, WCS, Save the Elephants. They might have relevant programs or even funding pots.
Right. Tap into those global networks. What about the money itself? Where does that come from?
Several routes. You can apply for conservation grants, both national and international ones. Crowdfunding is another option. Tell a powerful story, raise funds from individuals online.
Like a GoFundMe or Kickstarter.
Precisely. And don't overlook companies. Many have corporate social responsibility, CSR, programs focused on the environment. Approach them.
Okay, grants, crowdfunding, CSR. But managing all this, the money, the project, should you think about setting up your own formal structure? Like a nonprofit?
It's a really smart way to think about it, yes. You absolutely could set up a formal entity, maybe a nonprofit organization, an MPO, or what's often called a company limited by guarantee without share capital in Sri Lanka.
Okay, what does that mean, practically?
It's basically a nonprofit structure. It builds a lot of trust, especially with donors, because there are no shareholders taking profits. All the money has to go towards the mission. You'd need to choose a name, get it approved, draft a constitution stating your nonprofit goals, appoint directors, register officially with the registrar of companies.
Sounds like some legal hoops to jump through.
Definitely need good legal advice. But formalizing it gives you structure for fundraising, for managing the project properly, and it builds huge credibility.
Makes sense. Builds trust. Now, beyond the formal groups, what about just people? Individuals who love elephants, both in Sri Lanka and around the world. How big a role can they play?
A massive role. Never underestimate the power of passionate individuals. These elephant lovers, as you put it, are vital.
How so?
They can donate money, obviously, but also volunteer time and skills, maybe help with research. They can advocate, influence policy, and just raise awareness. Social media is huge for that.
Right. Getting the story out there. How do you reach those global supporters specifically?
Be proactive. Engage directly with those international conservation groups we mentioned, WWF, WCS, Save the Elephants, IUCN, Elephant Family. Reach out.
Okay. What else?
Look at universities worldwide with strong wildlife or biology departments. Find international foundations that specifically fund environmental or conservation work. Use those crowdfunding platforms, GoFundMe, Kickstarter, Indiegogo, Global Giving. Tell a compelling, emotional story.
Visuals probably help there too.
Hugely. Photos, videos, and use social media strategically. Find the dedicated groups on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or X, LinkedIn. Use hashtags like hashtag elephant conservation, hashtag save elephants, hashtag Sri Lanka wildlife, hashtag human-elephant conflict.
Get into those online communities.
Yeah. And maybe even think about reaching out to well-known figures, celebrities, or philanthropists who are known to care about wildlife. You never know.
Okay, lots of avenues, but underpinning all of this, especially when asking for money, it comes back to trust, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Trust is everything. How do you build it? Have that detailed proposal ready, be completely transparent with finances, tell a compelling story, use those visuals, build genuine relationships with potential supporters.